of my clients tell me that getting a good night's rest is a problem for them. Either they find it very hard to fall asleep in the first place, or they tend to wake up in the early hours of the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and find it impossible to get back to sleep again. So let me start by answering 3 basic important questions about sleep. The first and most obvious is, why do we need to sleep at all? What good does it do us? Then, how long should we sleep for? And what happens if we don't get enough sleep in the first place? The answer to the first question, why do we need to sleep, is, I have to say, the hardest to answer, because nobody, not even those who've devoted a lifetime to researching the subject, knows precisely why we need to sleep at all. There are many current theories about it. These include the idea that we need to sleep in order to conserve energy or to restore the metabolic balance of the brain. Other scientists, including the late Nobel Prize winner Francis Crick, have suggested that we sleep in order that the brain can make sense of all the information it's gathered during the course of the day. Interestingly, there's been some fascinating recent research by scientists at University College London who've been looking at the relationship between sleep and storing memory. They have done this in order to understand how a healthy brain stores and accesses memory, because this may provide insight into how certain medical conditions associated with getting older, such as Alzheimer's disease, can develop. They discovered an interesting link between 2 areas of the brain, one known to be related to sleep and the other known to be related to memory storage. Their idea is that the brain, as we know, is constantly absorbing a vast amount, a torrent of information during the course of the day. And because it can't store everything, it replays the important memories for long-term storage and then transfers them to a part of the brain called the entorhinal cortex, and also possibly to other areas of the brain as well. And it does this so they can be kept safe and we have easy access to them. And it does all this while we are asleep, which may account for some of the dreams we have, which I'll be talking about in a later video. While all these findings raise interestingly important questions, for now I have to say the jury about why we actually need to sleep at all is still out. Which brings us to, how much sleep do we actually need? Now, it used to be thought that 8 hours per night was ideal. Indeed, that's what I was taught in medical school. And that anything much less would lead to fatigue and inability to concentrate, making increasing errors, and when chronic, when long term, would undermine our mental and physical well-being. More recent research has shown that our need for rest varies considerably throughout life, and that, surprisingly perhaps, too much sleep can prove as detrimental as having too little. So, what's the right amount? The answer will depend on how old you are. By 2 to 4 months, most infants will be sleeping more at night than during the day, and they'll occasionally be able to sleep through for 5 or 6 hours at a stretch. By 6 months, 6 out of 10 babies will sleep through the night, and by 9 months, 80% will be doing so. The most critical change will occur at puberty. Teenagers, as any parent will testify, tend to find it very hard to get up in the morning. This is due to a resetting of their biological clock and has nothing to do with laziness. In recognition of this biological fact, Some educational authorities are now starting their morning classes in school at a slightly later hours, and this has been shown to improve both learning, concentration and memory recall. Our ability to sleep will decline as we get older. By 65, for example, the daily average sleep need is less than 6 hours. There are, however, many individuals who are sometimes described as long sleepers who will sleep up to 9 hours a night. So, which of these two types of sleep, short or long, is most advantageous? The perhaps surprising answer is that researchers have found a higher risk of mortality associated with both short and long sleep. One recent study, for example, found that individuals who sleep between 5 and 6.5 hours a night are likely to live slightly longer than those who sleep either far less than 5 hours or much more than 7 hours. Finally, let's take a look at what happens when we fail to get enough sleep. With so many people about to start driving away on their Christmas, their festive holidays, and often starting at the crack of dawn in the usually unsuccessful hope that they are going to, by doing this, beat the rush, I thought I would take a look at the effects of a lack of sleep on our ability to drive safely. For this, I recruited a team of volunteer drivers, and I conducted the experiment at the famous Brands Hatch racetrack in Kent. And these drivers range from ordinary housewives who just drive their kids to school and drive them with their husband away on holiday, or their partner away on holiday, and several professional racing drivers, including Jason Plato, who is a very successful driver indeed. And I prevented them, as I say, from sleeping for 24 hours. And I then measured the effects of their driving using a driving simulator. We didn't take a simulator, we didn't take them out on the racetrack. A short film was made by Meridian Television, and they've given me permission to show the results here.
British touring car champion Jason Plato in action at Silverstone. His reactions are super fast on the track, but here in an experiment at Brands Hatch, he's been awake for 24 hours as part of a test designed to reveal just how much lack of sleep reduces a motorist's ability to drive safely. Toward the end of the test, the simulator shows he's simply not in a fit state mentally or physically to be driving.
It's one of motoring's evils, and yet it's often overlooked, and we've all done it. I mean, I put my hands up. I've driven home tired and been, stretching my eyes and had the window down, but none of this works.
As part of the test, researchers also looked at Jason's brain patterns. 24 hours without sleep, and he's unable to read a script he'd sailed through yesterday.
Sarah saw a shop full of shot silk sashes.
But, if you've spent a lot of time, say, being the non-drinking driver at a party because you're going to run all your friends home and you haven't had any sleep and maybe the party's breaking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which is a point when your body clock, anyhow, is at its lowest ebb, you are going to be a very, very dangerous driver behind the wheel.
Brighton housewife Sue Jackson volunteered to take part in the test.
You seem to be doing okay so far.
Yeah, I'm holding it with 2 hands.
All right.
If I let that go, stick with one.
Oh, straight away.
Yeah, it wouldn't be
Now,
very good at all. My hands
You can
shaking.
really see that your actions are impaired, but by how much do you think?
A lot. A lot.
And how do you feel within yourself just now?
Well, I'm just really tired. I've been up for 24 hours now, and I just don't think I'd be able to get into a car and drive.
So the simple message today was watch out, deaths and serious injuries are on the increase. Don't drive when you're tired.
Summary, therefore, while regular exercise, a healthy diet, drinking alcohol only in moderation, and giving up smoking has been shown to reduce the risk of fatal and non-fatal heart attacks by over half, and the risk of a fatal attack by 2/3. When combined with sufficient sleep each night, these risks fall even more steeply. In my next video, I will offer you some practical tips for enjoying a good night's sleep, for both falling asleep more easily and staying asleep throughout the long watches of the night. Until then, thank you very much for your interest in our videos, and I look forward to talking to you in about a fortnight's time. Good night. Goodbye, I mean.